Welcome, everyone, to the Print On Demand Playbook podcast. My name is Rusty Pepper.
And I'm Maddy Alcala.
And together we explore the ever-evolving world of print on demand, from the companies and technologies shaping it to the leaders who make it great. And all along the way, we share the strategies, insights, and stories to help you and your business grow, innovate, and get ahead. So, Maddy, before we get our awesome guest introduced, which I'm actually very excited about, it's August. It's hot. So I'm going to put you in the proverbial hot seat.
No.
One question about AI. We always hear from companies, business leaders, they use the term AI first. You run a business, a software business, young, innovative leader. What does being an AI first company to you actually mean?
To me, it is how you approach, you approach a lot of things, how you approach your team design, how you approach tooling selection, how you approach solving problems, how you think about setting up processes. I actually had this conversation with someone yesterday because I think a lot of people who are earlier in starting to use AI use ChatGPT or Claude as a, hey, can you summarize this email for me? Or, hey, can you do this basic thing for me? Or read this data? Just a supercharged productivity function. And that's how a lot of people are using AI. But I think to be an AI first business actually means changing your operating model from the ground up of how you're setting up teams, how you're thinking about hiring, how you're making systems decisions, all of that. But my definition of that continues to evolve, Rusty.
All right. Well, I imagine it's probably going to continue to evolve throughout our conversation here shortly, because the reason why we have our guest on today is Hans Scheffer, the CEO of Helloprint, is you and him had a phenomenal conversation a few months ago back in Barcelona at a private industry event, which was, for all of us that were actually able to be in the room, was awesome. It was talking about how he's transforming Helloprint into an AI first company. You did a beautiful job moderating that conversation, but we couldn't really share with everybody else. So we wanted to pick that conversation back up by having him on so that we could really kind of dive into it more with him. So with that, you want to go ahead and get him introduced?
I do. Hans, you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello. Very nice to be here again, Rusty and Maddy. Great to see you guys.
You as well.
Yes, very good to see you too.
Thank you.
Well, I think Hans, as Rusty said,
he's in the AI forest of Rotterdam, it looks like right now.
Well, I'm actually at home. That never happens. So I'm like always in the office, but I needed to open the door for an electrician. So I'm actually at home. That rarely happens.
Something that AI cannot solve. You've got to let people in to do actual manual work.
Well, actually, so I'm like totally not a handyman at all. So I have two left hands, as we say in the Netherlands. And but actually, my first solution to this was an AI solution, scanning the electricity device, and came up with a good solution, I thought. But in the end, a professional needs to do the hard work, I think. So first solution, fine, but long-term solution, definitely not a go.
That makes sense. It could only take us so far, I suppose.
Exactly.
That's true with all technologies.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Well, Hans, I think it will be hard to recreate what we did and our conversation we had at FESPA. So rather than trying to do that, I actually want to have a similar conversation with you, but maybe the next chapter of it. So to start, why don't we summarize for everyone what we talked about at FESPA and really maybe some of your philosophies on AI, what you're doing at Helloprint. Let's just give some context to everybody who hasn't heard us talk about this before.
Yeah, definitely. So do you want me to start on this, or how do you want to do this? Yeah, so
maybe actually just give a quick background on you as well, too. I think that might, for those that may not know you, I don't know who doesn't know you out there in our industry, but for those that don't, maybe start there.
For sure, yeah. Hans Scheffer, founder, CEO of Helloprint. We are a platform / marketplace for customizable printed products for B2B, printing on demand, active in Europe in 13 countries and in the US. We work with a network of approximately 300 manufacturers, and we have connected the vast majority of the logistical network. And smart technology defines where something is being produced and who is shipping it based on where something needs to be delivered and when. And our algorithms are the things that we are working on day and night to make print ordering easier for everyone everywhere. And so we are applying a lot of AI in our way of working. We want to be front runner in technological innovations. And yeah, that's where we started to talk about Maddy and Rusty, I think in Barcelona at the industry event. So what does that mean, an AI first company? And what is the difference between like using AI in your business profession versus building a AI first organization from the ground up, and what are the pitfalls, and is there a silver bullet, yes or no? Are we early? Are we late? How do you ensure that the culture in your company stays the same or evolves or moves into the right direction, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's like in a nutshell where we started the conversation about, and the funny thing was there was so much interaction with the group because it's a topic, right? So it's a topic in many companies, and there's no good or bad, I would say, or right or wrong in how you do this. But there's one thing for sure, and that is AI will fundamentally change the way how we work, how work is being designed, what kind of roles we have, how our relationship with work versus private life will be designed, etc. So whether you like it or not, there will be a moment in time that you need to cope with a form or shape of AI or technology, taking a much more prominent place in your business than ever before. And is this different than the previous technological revolution? Because that's what a lot of people also say, right? Yeah, look at the industrial revolution, and is this not fundamentally the same as back then? I think we are approaching a fundamentally different era in time where the pace of the technology development goes so much faster than ever before, literally sometimes in days or weeks, what we anticipated to happen in years or decades. That we need to prepare for that, and not only as a business, but most and foremost, I think, as a society. But that's like a broader topic. So this is as a short intro on the topic, I think.
Yes, and I think there's so many different ways that we can go into this topic. You're obviously very interested in it. I am as well. I think a question I would imagine you get a lot from people who've read your article about what you're doing with Helloprint and AI is, how do I start? Because my guess is people view what you're doing at Helloprint as, for the most part, pretty ahead of the game. Now, at least within our sphere, from what I've seen. I'm curious for your viewpoint on that. Do you feel that Helloprint is further ahead or kind of middle of the pack? That's probably my first question. And my second question is, when people say, "Hey Hans, how do I start getting AI into my company?" What do you say to them?
Yeah, so on your first question, I think we were like pretty early to the party. That's also what is in our DNA. So we try to follow what happens in the world, not only in our industry, but most and foremost what happens in the world, in other industries, and in the heart of technology. I travel a lot around the world, try to be influenced by the big companies who are far more ahead than any other company, in whether it is in the US or in China or in India or wherever innovation happens. So I think, generally speaking, I think from a business perspective, we were quite early, but a lot of companies are picking up the pace, maybe faster than we do. I think what is a good thing is that we were early by embracing the new concept of, hey, technology first is now really how we should approach our strategy. So we've already been through like a sort of phase where you can get used to this. I think that's a very valuable position that we have there. But having an advanced situation towards the rest is only temporary, right? So that's and I now see a lot of companies luckily picking up the pace, embracing AI, and in a much deeper way than only using it as an accelerator of efficiency, I would say. So yeah, we need to keep this pace as well as a company and constantly reinvent the way we work, because that's maybe the most fundamental insight that we have. So there is absolutely no silver bullet. It's a very hard trajectory, and it requires like a different type of leadership and a fundamentally different organization and organization structure to get this over the fence. And it also requires like a lot of risk taking and guts, I would say, to be willing to fail, because this fails constantly. So what we try to do fails every fucking day. And that's excuse my French, but that's like, so you might already feel the frustration, because I just came out of a meeting where things have failed again. And that's frustrating at one hand, and it's also beautiful at the other hand, because the pace we are now failing in is so much faster than ever before. So in the old era, so we were failing after like months of trying and then failing, then come to the conclusion that things have failed. Now we come to the conclusion very early in this trajectory. We fail, we iterate, and we do it all over again. Sometimes with a new model, sometimes with a new approach, sometimes with a new team, sometimes with a new something. And that's the beauty of it. So the iteration time to fail is maybe the most important metric that we now have, and that will bring us much faster from A to B and from A to Z, I would say. So that's that's with regards to the pace of how we embrace this.
I think that pace of failure, pace of innovation that you've adopted, I have to imagine that's only been possible because of who you've picked to be on your team, the mentality of the people that you've picked to be on your team. Because if you're asking a bunch of people to adopt new technologies, change how they work, and get comfortable with failing fast and frequently, which I think as humans, we're all programmed to say, I don't like this, right? We all like success. That's a big org conversation, a people conversation. So how have you approached that part?
Very good question, because it's also like, so I get a lot of questions around, hey, how do you do this? How do you change an organization? I think it's a very fundamental question, and it's also a very difficult question to answer. I think the best answer is that highly depends on the kind of organization that you are and the culture you have built. I think, but I've never worked in a corporate environment, I think, or I tend to think, that it's extremely difficult to move a container ship that is slow, that has a lot of hierarchy, that has a lot of processes, that has a lot of rituals and habits, and into a faster iterative speedboat. And so I think you need like very strong change management for that. But I assume that that's very difficult. So luckily we are a speedboat by nature. So we are built as a speedboat, and sometimes we put some additional engines on it. We reconstruct the boat a bit. We choose a different harbor, and we pick a different captain. But we're still the speedboat. And the people at Helloprint, our culture is deliberately focused on a radical candor, embracement of change, very direct and open communication, embrace positiveness, etc. So it's focused on, hey, we need to cope. And in Rotterdam, you have we have a big building here in the city that says it's a phrase of Lucifer, and it says, or a bit of coding, I don't know. No, it says, I have to change to stay the same. And I think that's absolutely true. So you're not progressing if you change. but you have to change to stay the same. And if you want to change, you need to do more than that. And that's where this era and time asks for. And yeah, luckily my team is another. So obviously not everyone in the same capacity, but the majority of the team has this philosophy baked in from the start. And that makes it that the transition that we are going through is not a real transition. It's a logical evolution of how we work with a toolkit that is now much more filled with technology weapons to use. And that's what we tell the team. So, hey, the good thing is what you wanted before as a business professional is now possible. The only thing is that you need to cope with it, and you need to make sure that you can use the toolkit. But the toolkit is there, and that's a beautiful concept. I think leads to very rapid development of individuals who are going beyond their own bar. I would say, which is great to see, and it's also like a big equalizer. I would say, because I see like very old people, very young people, people from all kinds of backgrounds, people who are coming from a low entry role, now growing into a superstar technology role, just because it's possible, because it's an equalizer. Everyone can use this technology. It's on your laptop. You only need an internet connection. So if you are in customer service now and you are digital savvy, why not aim for that new role that is beyond manager customer service or a lead, but is like a superstar forward deployed engineer in my team, or an AI engineer. And that's what I love about it, because it's like, it's so much more than a lot of people say it is, right? It's a fundamental equalizer, and it gives so much power to the people who are behind the screens and who are willing to adapt and who are really wanting to make their professional development matter. And that's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. I completely agree. And I think, though, it's interesting. I have my view on this. I'm curious for yours. What skill sets in the context of that do you think have become even more important now because AI is a great equalizer? Do you think there are? Or like, what mentalities or skill sets and employees now do you think are like extra valuable because of what AI helps people do?
I think it's less about the skill set, I would say. It's more about the soft skills, like being extremely curious, for example. That's like, so if you are now extremely curious, then AI is your best partner to work with, because it's very good in going deeper and deeper. And if you are going deeper and deeper, you get a real like conversation or coding exercise that goes beyond expectations, I would say. Perseverance was always important, but is more important than ever. Having a strong business acumen, so not only focusing on technology or business, but have the deep understanding of how one can influence the other. So those are like the typical things we are looking for in a superstar A player right now.
That makes sense. And I'll go back to my question from a couple questions ago, because I think you've answered it, but I'll see if I can say some of your answer back. If you get approached by someone who hears you talk about AI and they say, Hans, what do I do to start? I think from everything you've said about Helloprint, you already had a really strong breeding ground for where AI would make a lot of sense. And you've been able to supercharge that by making deliberate choices. But I would guess is if you are talking to someone who comes from a company that is not even very technologically literate, but still fairly behind in terms of just baseline tech adoption, that your answer to them on where AI can fit would be different if you're talking to someone else who has a company like Helloprint. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And my answer would be, in general, would be the same. So my answer would be, where do I start? By thinking completely through how this could fit your culture. Because it starts there, right? So just starting is not the right answer in my opinion, because you need to like define a strategy that fits your org, so that fits your culture, and a good leader is able to distinguish what will work in their company or not. And sometimes you get the answer that there is a way to start this. Sometimes you need to first change something in your organization to increase the chance of success in this. Because there are organizations where you know from the start that this will be an absolute disaster. So that's we all know that, right? So, and you can still try it, but what it does. So if an organization is not able to fail, failure is not a good thing. So if an organization is good in failing, it's a great thing. Then you should start, fail, iterate, and go above and beyond. But if your organization can't fail, it's a drainer, and people will leave. The good people will leave then, and then then you need to do other things, I think, to change this.
So on that,
go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say on that point though, I know a lot of the folks that we have that listen to our podcast, they've got those organizations that are could be bigger. They may not be able to make that type of transformation that Helloprint did, because y'all were in a small company, but y'all did it. But for those companies that just aren't willing just to rip the entire and just basically tear everything down and rebuild it, where's a good place for them to start? Is it possible to make parts of the business AI first and other parts more traditional? Can they both coexist?
Yeah, sure. And I think that also, if your organization is bigger, then you should start somewhere, right? And I think a pitfall can be, but also that varies. So whatever works, right? So that's so making it part of an innovation team, that can be like, but then it lives in isolation, and the question is always how do you get out of there? So how do you, so if it works in the innovation team where you have very capable people, where there is an isolated sandbox basically with like-minded people who are there for that particular job, so the likelihood that will prove you that something can work is quite high. But way more difficult is what you've proven there to integrate that in your broader org. And I fundamentally think that the whole AI revolution is not a technological thing. It's a cultural revolution, and it should start there. And the technology is there. So I always try to rephrase the word AI into technology, because also to balance it out, because it's not magic in a box, and it's not a silver bullet. It's just another piece of technology. And if you are a technology company, then you are already used to use technology to fuel your business and to accelerate your business. Now there is like a magic weapon in that toolkit that you can use, but it's still technology.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you talked about the pace of development and change within the technology, which is mind-blowing to see how quickly things are coming out and still being invented. And I can't keep up with it, even as much as I try. And I imagine you're in a similar boat. Things are always changing. But it does feel, to me at least, like there's a gap that is now widening even further of where the technology is and what that enables, and then mass professional culture, for lack of a better term. Do you agree? And if you do agree or disagree, I'm curious, but as a result of that, what are the implications, do you think, for kind of the broader business environment that we're in? Do you think that we're just going to start to see really big gaps in like customers and vendors and partners between how they interact and how they run their companies?
Yeah, well, so I don't have a crystal ball, but I tend to believe that will be the case, right? So that there will be a huge gaps in how people will approach this new wave of technology, and companies who aren't. That's most likely that we will see that, and there will be companies that will not be where it will not be possible to cope with this new wave, and that's also fine, and that happens in every revolution, I would say.
Yeah, there you go. Well, to go back a little bit, because this is the Print On Demand Playbook podcast, and Helloprint does a lot of print on demand. I want to ask a few questions to you, just more specifically. Any AI technologies, capabilities, or just new things that you've built that you think are changing how Helloprint has approached the POD landscape?
Well, so we are paying a lot of attention to rebuilding our platform infrastructure. We have like kind of a rare role within the ecosystem, I would say. We are the pure infrastructure player. We're not producing anything ourselves, and we do the marketing to get the clients onto into the platform. But the knowledge of the industry and the product and process is basically in the hands of the manufacturers that we use. But what we see is that so the role that we will play in the design process online, for example, will be fundamentally driven by AI. For as far that is not already the case, we see a lot of changes in customer behavior when it comes down to how to edit a file, how to upload a file, how to design a piece of art that you can print. Within that, like part of the ecosystem, the design part, there will be a lot of changes, I would say. But also in how to configure your product, and especially the more complex products that we are offering, where you need to have like deep knowledge of attributes and configuration options, etc., and print techniques. I think AI will play a very large role to change that, to make that far easier, and to get closer to the experience of buying a book at Amazon or shoes at a big online retailer. So yes, that's from a customer facing perspective. I think that those are the areas where the biggest impact can be expected.
Makes sense. And I think that as you and I go to trade shows and conversations sometimes, and we see the downstream impact, there's points within that production flow, obviously, where the much more advanced players are inserting QC controls and workflow automation and obviously other technologies. But it feels to me like companies like Helloprint are going to be the ones that really change the POD landscape, because ultimately it all comes back to someone needs to buy something. And so as you're getting better and better and better at servicing the customer and meeting them where they are and infusing these different technologies, I think that will roll downstream to more of the supply side in terms of how they need to work as well.
Definitely. So I think the best example is Canva, right? So they are mainly dominating and dictating how, in the end, the customer will behave in the design and order process. So that will go downstream, right? So that's an obvious. The earlier you are in the value chain, the more you can put a stamp on how customers behave throughout the chain later on.
Do you have, with producers that Helloprint works with, is it easier or better relationships for you with those producers who do the effort to really understand that value chain and what you're doing with the customer and like meet you there? It feels to me like that's natural, and I've seen that a bit in our business, that the producers that really want to understand the customer acquisition side of things and get into those technology conversations, that they have a leg up on the ones that are just order takers. Hey, drop the order off at my front door and I'll handle it.
100%. I think so. If you want to have like a long-term competitive advantage, then you need to look into those areas, right? And otherwise, you are just a manufacturing house, and then there is only one differentiator, and that is to be as operational efficient as you can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is also a model, of course, right? So that's
Again, it's knowing your business. Very much knowing your business. Well, Rusty, should we do some rapid fire for Hans? I could go. I really want to ask Hans about his view about how society for AI and what all of that's going to be, but that might get a little bit off the rails for a POD podcast on a Wednesday. I know you had some rapid fire as well.
Fire away. Let it rip.
Fire them, please.
All right. Let's do so. So I am going to ask you that question because I've been thinking about this. I don't think any of us know, but you made the comment about technology revolution and previous revolutions. And, it's, I think, easier to predict what will be bad about new technologies. It's easy to predict what jobs will go away, or maybe what some of the negative implications will be. It's, I think, always been hard in human history to predict all of the good. We can't see into the future of all of the benefits. If it's health and efficiency and access and education, like we can't see all of those things. But I'm curious for your perspective on like a startup founder, owner, like what do you view your responsibility is from more of like a social perspective as you think about your team and the culture and just like the impact that HelloPrint is having on the world around you, especially as it relates to AI? Like, do you spend time thinking about that, of data centers and energy consumption, all of those things? Like, where do your personal views there lie?
Yeah.
I'm curious.
It's a broad and holistic question, I would say, and but it's a very essential
Not a
one.
rapid fire. That's not part of the rapid fire. We're
It's
gonna
not.
retract
That's my
We're gonna
sneaky
start
one
later.
before the rapid fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I will answer this one like a little bit more in detail. So I think we have a huge responsibility towards society to think this absolutely true and don't wait until shit hits the fan. So AI will have a profound impact on how we design jobs, which jobs will disappear, what the bar will be when you come fresh out of school to get a entry job, what are the necessary skills towards future to be successful, not per se in AI, but in something else that is not AI, and how to ensure that your kid of 18 will not be stuck in the middle with a bullshit education or study that will bring them nowhere. And then we have like all the other profound impacts that AI can have on society. For example, energy use. So we are a B Corp, so we need to think how things will impact our CO2 footprint, and it's also something we will measure in the future. So what is the impact of the token use that we have? Luckily, I think it's a good thing that the chips are becoming smarter and smarter, and the use of energy will go down, I think, in the foreseeable future. But it's something that we need to have an open debate on with society. I'm very shocked, actually, that there is not yet a huge debate going on the topic. The only debate that you see is like safety and the jailbreak things, etc. But I think that's not the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem is what will this huge technological revolution, which effect will this huge technological revolution has on us as society? And I can't answer it, but I think we should start debating this heavily.
I agree. We'll do that on the next episode.
Definitely.
We can have some people on. We can have a nice spirited debate. Now for the fun.
So that's Rusty goes into politics, so he can solve it, I think.
Perfect.
We're running for
We'll get
president.
a lot of viewership on that one, I'm sure. We'll just do it totally ahead of the midterm elections in the US. We'll do something crazy.
I will vote for
Yeah.
you.
All right, now let's do some fun rapid fire. What's your favorite AI technology, product, tool, anything that you're using right now?
Claude.
Rusty, what's yours?
Actually, I was going to say Claude too, but actually I also like WhisperFlow.
Whisper's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There are a lot of like the whisper flowers and they're the non-whisper flowers. It's like a very different way of working. I noticed it's also a different type of people. I think.
Well, and I also have my new
right.
I also have my new little Plot app, my little AI note taker, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, WhisperFlow is super cool. I agree. I've played around with it. I'm not quite there yet. It is a way of working thing that you really have to get yourself into.
Yeah, definitely.
Coolest thing that you've done at Helloprint this year, Hans?
Coolest thing we're managed to keep the pace of development of commercial development with a much smaller team, I would say, and that's an accomplishment for now. But we need to make sure that we keep that advantage, I would say. And we're going to
favorite
with the whole team. That will be the coolest thing of this year, I think.
I love it. What's your favorite POD product?
I'm not sure I have, actually.
Which one?
I'm not sure I have.
I think it's probably the sneakers.
Oh, yeah, the printed sneakers. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my favorite product. Yeah.
You guys rocked those a couple years ago at Printing United.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. That's a cool product, actually. Yeah.
They are. It was cool.
What about your favorite POD industry event?
I think Printing United.
Good answer.
especially because it's in Vegas and Hans loves Vegas.
Do you really?
No comments. No comments. No comments.
I love it.
Anybody that knows Hans also knows that he's a foodie. Some of the best meals I've ever had have been with Hans.
Absolutely.
So on that, I'm going to flip now from the business questions. Maddy, do you have any other rapid fire on your end? All right.
Take it away.
The city with the best food scene.
San Sebastian in Spain.
Okay. One dish you could eat every week.
It's a very Dutch dish. It's called krootjes, and it's a mashed Dutch thing that my mom always made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would I have had that before?
I think you would not like it.
No. Okay. Because you know what I like and what I don't. So
Exactly.
most overrated food.
Hamburger. Yeah. Horrible. I'm most probably not allowed to get into the US anymore now.
Yeah, that's just, I think we just revoked your ability to come
There
in.
goes my ESTA.
Yeah. What is more important, the food, the wine, or the people at the table?
People at the table, of course.
New Year's. Okay.
And then the wine and then the food.
Yeah.
Completely
But they're all important. But yeah, I would agree.
Equally important, I would say.
Shitty people at the table is not going to make
No, for sure.
It runs it. If Helloprint was a restaurant, what type of restaurant would it be?
A Hakkasan restaurant, like a fusion,
Okay.
nice, lively, barish, clubbish,
Okay.
a lot going on-ish, thingy-ish.
Love
Yes,
it.
that kind of restaurant.
Yeah.
My
So,
favorite.
PK
You see
or
love language on that one. She's like, okay, I got this.
yeah, exactly. I got this. Yeah.
And one final question on my end. Maddy, do you have anything before I add this one last question?
Bring us home.
Okay. So we all get together, Maddy, you, me, we all get together in Barcelona 2 years from now. What would need to have happened at Helloprint for you to say that becoming an AI first company was truly worth the cost, the risk, and the disruption to the business?
So we need to prove that we can massively accelerate our growth by doing this. This is the only reason we are doing this. Yes, of course, there is like an efficiency game beneath it. It seems and sounds great to do it with a smaller team, but you also have significant other costs. You have the opportunity cost of it. You have the AI costs that are coming along with it. You have the higher salary cost because like with this, although the team gets smaller, we get different people, different roles on board. So I think below the line, the efficiency cost will like more or less, it will be equal as the previous situation. So what it needs to prove is that why we do this is to fundamentally accelerate our growth potential. So if we in 2 years from now are in Barcelona, we should have proven that our growth should have doubled over that period compared with the same period before the AI or technology revolution. At
Great
least
answer.
doubled.
That's what takes this from being an interesting science project, which it obviously is, to actually a very valuable business strategy and approach.
I think it's more an anthropological project, actually. So, so it's like it has so much more to do with people and with culture than a lot of people think. This is for me like it's such an interesting period. I can barely sleep. It's so because of the excitement and because of the frustration that we go too slow, because you see how fast things can go right now, and so it's changing your whole perspective of how to build a business, how to cope with a team, how to move everyone into the new direction. It's the most exciting project I've ever done in 25 years, I would say. And it's the most exciting period of my life. So yeah, I'm extremely motivated to keep doing this and make it work. And it will be not a straight path or a straight line, and definitely not. And we haven't succeeded at all. We totally messed it up until now. So that's the beauty of it, because we've already done that. And so we already made all those mistakes right now, and we're going to make a bunch more. But I'm sure that we will get there.
I still come back to the whole point of what you said. The pace of innovation by failing fast allows y'all to do so much more. And to me, that says a lot about your leadership and how you approach the business. And so there's no doubt that you guys are going to continue to see that and be more successful because of it.
Let's hope for that. But hope is not a strategy. So
No, but it feels nice. So we're going to do that anyway, too.
Yeah.
Feels nice. Well, Hans, I always learn something from talking with you about this topic. So thank you for sharing your insights. You are so generous with what you do and how you think about things and what's working and what's not working, which is a gift to everyone who gets to listen to you talk about this. So thank you for the time. Rusty and I will bother you again at some point soon, I'm sure, to have a continuation of this conversation.
Always my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, he's
Thank
truly
you.
one of the good guys in the industry. So we're thanks for being a part of this, and we will see you in Vegas next month.
Absolutely. Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby.
He's such a good guy.
He's the best. I could talk to Hans for hours. I actually did talk to Hans for hours in Barcelona when we had that first conversation. Like people were, the Oscar music was playing and we just were continuing to chat. So
I had to literally rip y'all off the stage because y'all were just, I mean, honestly, I think everybody wanted to literally let y'all just, they were trying to bring out the food.
people are just hungry.
Yeah. And, but no, it was great. You know, obviously we didn't get into all the different layers that we were able to at the event, but it's, I think, fascinating how his business, what they've done, because it was a big business to start, and for them to come in and just basically say, you know what, we're just going to change the whole thing and really focus on it, says a lot.
It is. And I think what we got deeper into in the inaugural conversation on this topic that we attempted to recap, though I actually like how we evolved it today, because I think we got deeper into the people and kind of philosophical side of how Hans is thinking about this transformation, which I think is actually really good to hear from a business leader perspective, because his whole point around, if you have the foundation in place where you're already very technologically literate, that's how you operate as a company. Well, of course it's going to be easier for you to adopt a new technology, right? Like if you already have an iPhone, it's going to be way easier for you to get the latest iPhone app and change how you're working. If you're still on a flip phone, well, it's going to be really tough for you to start doing some of these new things, right? And I think that that's a good self-awareness exercise, which he talked about, of advice to give to business leaders, is like, know your culture and know your org and be honest with yourself about that. And if you're working from a position where you have technology, but that's not part of your DNA, if you're not really comfortable failing and changing quickly, if you have a workforce that is designed in a specific mentality or skill set, then AI adoption is just going to look really different for you. And you actually might need to make other changes before you make the AI change. And so I actually thought that was really good advice that we didn't get into as much when we had the first conversation. Because the first conversation was more about, like, he didn't talk about this as much today, but like Helloprint's headcount has shrunk. Their revenue per employee as a KPI is something Hans really looks at, I think is fascinating, and you see from other very AI native businesses. And he talked a lot more about kind of the brutal reality of what those team changes have looked like and really hard decisions and some people that haven't made the cut and kind of how he's managed through all of that. Some of that subtext was here today, but I thought that was I think that's good advice. I listen to Hans whenever he says these things, but hopefully other people listening to the episode can take that and put that into their own business with that same level of honesty and awareness about where they are.
Yeah, I mean, he's about as real as it gets. He just says whether he's 100% accurate on it doesn't matter, but he believes in what he says, and he's not one of those people that just goes out there and just a blowhard and just says stuff. He believes it, and he's trying it, and that's the cool thing is, I go back to the pace of innovation comes from accepting that being able to fail fast, and it's kind of like in sales: quick yeses, quick nos. Hey. Quick no is just as good as you don't love it, but I'll take a quick no versus wasting my freaking time. Like, let me know. Okay. If it doesn't work for you, you don't like me. What? Cool. That's okay. Not that I like that, but that's okay. It gives me time to focus on other stuff. And I think the same thing happens in these type of scenarios when it's like, okay, we failed, but boy, we didn't waste 3 more months to wait for that to happen. We know now we can we can adjust, and we just keep on looking at different ways to do it. So love that. I think the business acumen and hiring people that were curious was an interesting trait. I do think being curious is probably one of the more important ones of that, because you need employees that are curious, that are willing to try all these and experiment with stuff. On the POD focus, though, one thing I was kind of curious about, more about how they're using outside the design and configuration standpoint. Like, how are they using it from an onboarding standpoint? You're removing a lot of the pain points that so many encounter in our industry. So, but maybe we can do some follow up with them on that one.
Yeah, I know I've talked to Hans and Erwin off that. Erwin is Hans's business partner, co-founder. I know I've talked to them offline about it a little bit. And I know I see this with the order mesh business. I've talked to others in the space, is that AI can do a lot, but it can only take us so far in terms of some of the supply side onboarding challenges. Because, if you have an API as a producer, but it's not well documented or it's inaccurate, well, AI can't write good code to integrate with that, right? If you have product data, but it's missing key elements that help AI map it into SKU structures, yes, AI can help with that, but you still are dealing with a lot of those things. And so I know Helloprint team has felt similar challenges. They've seen a lot of benefit and improvement from infusing AI into onboarding on the supply side, but they've also run into what you'd expect in terms of some of the friction where they still have to have people sit down and solve those problems. But I think the overall thing, though, I was going to tie back into what we were just talking about, though, with failure and AI and technology. You and I get asked all the time, well, how do I get into POD, right? And you did a great post, what was it, out of AI Chicago, and you're talking about automation and technology, and like someone had talked to you about getting into POD. But it's kind of the same thing as getting into AI, right? Like, I had a conversation with a business about a month ago, and the CEO called me and said, we want to get into POD. But they didn't have any way of digitally processing orders. And it was a very kind of old school way of doing things. It's like, well, my advice to you is going to be super different than the advice I'd give someone that's digitally native, super techie. Like, it's the same thing. Like, you have to know your business and you have to know your culture, because adopting POD, it's a new technology. It's a new way of doing things. It's a new culture. It's a new mentality. It's a new failures that you're going to have to deal with. Now, granted, it's different than AI, but it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing in my head. And so I think that's our advice, Rusty, if I were to give it to people, is like, know your business, know your customer, know your team, start from there, and like start from technology adoption, because you can't do any of this if you're not adopting technology and automation and thinking about that. You can't adopt POD very well, and you definitely can't adopt AI very well.
100%. It took me a while to kind of remember that post you're talking about, but now I remember it. Yeah. It was a
'Cause you're a
conversation I was
booster.
actually having with a large distributor. And I was like, they were like, oh yeah, I was like, no, that's not what it's about. It's like, we're still, or maybe it was a supplier. Yeah. That they were like, it was like, no. But yeah, AI is not going to replace everything, but it should help move things along. So, well, that was another one in the books.
Another one in the books, another great conversation with Hans. And yes, we mentioned Printing United. You and I have not talked about trade shows coming up, but I think that's our next big event, is we will be at Printing United in Las Vegas. I think that's September 23rd to 25th.
Yes, it is.
And always love to say hi to people who listen to the podcast and get ideas of what we can do better.
We will be back in the podcast booth this year, which
right.
is always fun. We'll get to do a lot of those little interviews with some of our favorite people from the show. So we're going to bring that back. We'll probably be walking. My goal this year is to walk more of the show floor. And really, I really want to look at some of the automation and the technologies that's happening. The AI pavilion should be popping. I mean, from what I'm hearing from the inside on some of these different activations, it's going to be great. And also this year in Vegas, the halls are going to be next to each other. So FYI, everyone that was there 2 years ago that had that detour to get out to the other hall, these are right next to each other. So it shouldn't be, you should be able to zip back and forth without having any issues. So it's going to be a great event. I think I've only talked to one person that was not able to make it. So there is a ton of people going to be there. It should be a phenomenal show.
I think so too. I'm still going to bring my walking shoes because Vegas does a number on the feet, but that is good to hear. That will be more convenient with the halls. And yeah, we're excited for it. I'm sure we'll record another episode or two before the show, but we'll do a lot of coverage at Printing United for anyone who's not able to make it or wants to learn more about what the show's about.
Yeah. And thank y'all for listening. And until next time, see you.
See ya.